Did you want to speak to that a little bit? No, right?
I'm Switzerland today.
You are Switzerland. Yeah. So these are some of the things that, as a person from outside of the movement, you may not be aware of how you're being taken within the movement itself. So that's, again, part of that when you join and participate in movements, kind of feeling your way through those movements. How can you best be useful to that movement in a way? And so a lot of that has to do with respect for what that movement is. And so we're talking about, people cleaving off and engaging in some of these other activities. One of the things is to be really responsive to what that movement wants to accomplish and what they're doing. If you don't, then, you're not as helpful to that movement. And so your participation in that be kind of questioned a little bit in that process. And so I think it's really difficult sometimes for folks to know where their space is within a movement. And so if you're able to kind of respect that movement, if somebody tells you, and it may be, and I know from movements and I know from what people tell me, is that if you're participating in a movement, sometimes one part of the movement will tell you that what you're doing is exactly what they want, and another part of the movement will tell you, we don't want you here at this moment. We prefer that you participate in this way. And so you, as a person that's kind of outside of the movement, is going, hey, wait, am I right? Am I wrong? Well, you're a little bit of both, right? Because the movement, we think these movements is one whole, consistent whole. It has kind of differences within it, and people, difference of opinions, different ways of looking at strategy. So there are ways in which you can engage in these movements. So there was a mine that was proposed in northern Wisconsin. And there was a University of Wisconsin lacrosse sociologist that was also a filmmaker, and so he joined that protest and was working with the folks in northern Wisconsin against that mine. And at one point he was working with the Ojibwe on this particular process, and the folks there said, look, there's getting to be a bit of tension in the community. Can you please leave and do some work for us outside of the community? And so his response was to leave and start doing some fundraising, doing some organizing. One thing, bring other community members into the issue. And so he did some sort of network building outside of the community. It wasn't even a question of, well, am I being useful to you or not useful to you? Who's saying that about me? That wasn't his response. His response was, okay, I've got other things I can do, I will just leave. And so maybe not everybody felt that he was not being useful, but he responded to that group of folks and said, look, you'd be more helpful outside. And so it's really, engaging in a movement, not really questioning a lot of times what you're being told, and just kind of responding, okay. It's not really about you. If you're really into the movement, it's not about you. It's not about your own ego. It's not about, how effective are you? I'm really important and I can help you kind of thing. It's really about what's for the success of the movement. And so if people tell you, what's really successful for the movement is for you to kind of disappear for a little while, then that's something you do. And so there's a certain degree of humility in that, I think. And we're not necessarily comfortable because we're sort of thinking, oh God, what did I do wrong? You may not have done anything wrong. So we have, I think that's the real struggle for a lot of folks who want to participate in movements that aren't necessarily one where they're a direct community member of that particular movement. And so there's ways to become engaged. And so just understand that your role is one that's going to be uncomfortable. That's the way it is. I still feel very uncomfortable even standing up here and talking about, the roles of playing in social movements in these sort of ways, because it's a different space to be in. So I really don't have a home, if you will, for any social movement that I would like to engage in. So even when it comes to social class movements, working class movements, I have a PhD now. I go home and folks are very nice to me. Still, my family's still nice to me even though I have a PhD. But I have a different role now, and they don't see me the same way. So I used that